Hello everyone, this is Christopher Wilson. I'm a student in THE 722, Fathers and Doctors of the Church, Thomas Aquinas, with Dr. William Newton. And I'm making this video as a journal entry for week 3 on the question of whether, according to Aquinas, there is any distinction between essence and subject when it comes to angels and God. Now, according to Aquinas, there is no distinction between essence and subject when it comes to angels and God, to supernatural beings, because neither is a being of material form. But before we unpack that, let's first consider human beings and why there is a distinction between our essence and form. Our humanity is the essence of us. It defines who we are. It is intangible because it is who God created us to be. Now, our subject is our form. That is our flesh and bones. And while we as human beings require, at least to some extent, the possession and proper functioning of our flesh and bones in order to live, by no means do they constitute who we are in our essence. Our essence is that we are human beings made in the image of God. In Objection 1 of Article 3, Aquinas proposes that God cannot be the same as his essence or nature because nothing can be in itself, and we commonly think of the Trinity as somehow containing God. Aquinas later clarifies this by saying that we use concrete nouns to signify his subsistence, while abstract nouns would signify his simplicity. In Objection 2, Aquinas considers the argument that because product is analogous with its creator, rather a product, what's created, and because man is not identical with humanity, it would seem that God himself is different from the Godhead. But he goes on to point out in his reply that while God's effects do not fully represent him, they do so in a way that humanity is capable of understanding. God is love, and his love does represent who he is, as does, for example, his mercy and his justice. This leads us to an additional point regarding God's essence and subject. God is life and he gives life, which Aquinas says in his On the Contrary section of the article. Aquinas uses the term suppositum to mean that which subsists by itself. And given that humanity subsists outside of the physical being of man, it therefore follows that God is subsisting in of himself because he does not possess a physical being in the sense that humanity does. God is inseparable from his love and everything else that defines him, as Aquinas says in Article 3. Aquinas says, but then in Article 3, therefore, provides an excellent foundation for what the angelic doctor will go on to discuss in Article 4, which is whether essence and existence are the same in God, which they are for several reasons. And the reason why he says that essence and existence are the same, which builds on essence and subject, is that he says the existence of something cannot be caused by its constituent principles, and hence its existence must be caused by an exterior agent. But we know this isn't the case with God because he is the first cause. Secondly, Aquinas builds upon the evidence he has already established that God has no potentiality, and since existence makes every form actual, God cannot be separated along these lines. Thirdly, God cannot be participating in essence but is his own essence rather, and if he is not his own existence, this would contradict his role as the first being and instead make him merely a participant, so to speak, rather than the first cause and therefore the first being. So, to sum it all up, Aquinas says there is no difference, there can be no distinction between God's essence and existence and between God's essence and subject because God is perfectly united to himself in everything. God is the first cause and nothing created God. There is no exterior agent outside of God. God is to be itself, whereas human beings are products of an exterior agent, God himself. So it's important to distinguish essence and subject with human beings for that reason, that our subject matter would be, for instance, me, my face, my material matter. That doesn't define who I am. This is my flesh. It's created. I am both flesh and I'm both soul and body, rather. But my essence is neither. My essence is my humanity, as is the case with everybody else. So Article 3 lays the great foundation for Article 4 and really for the rest of, for many other articles that Aquinas will write regarding the nature of God and the nature of man, the nature of the supernatural versus the natural. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. God bless.